Give us an idea what policing is all about.
Well, so you just said it. It's about protection of the community, enforcing the laws of the territory, ensuring that there is peace and tranquility exists in a peaceful and that the laws of the land is enforced, the general protection and security of our community, and that's what we have been doing. There are a number of other things that comes with policing. We have to look at the protection of our borders, protection of our communities. All of those things come with policing. We play a major role when it comes to national disasters, and a whole host of other things that policing involves today.
So I guess this is a joke here anyway. With an impending storm approaching natural disasters musically, I guess you all would be actively involved there.
I'm not sure what impending disaster musically, but I believe you may be referring to Wash and Whoosh and the other. So, but we'll see how that work out. Yeah.
Okay. In your words, explain how forceful the zero tolerance can be.
Well, so when I speak to zero tolerance, we are going to imply all necessary resources available to the Royal Anguilla Police Force in policing this community. The references made to Carnival and the zero tolerance posture that we'll be taking. It means that there are a number of areas over the years that we were probably quite lax on, but we have learned from a lot of things that have happened for previous carnivals. So this year, as we have done in previous years, we stepped up on those things that we used last year to enforce and police carnival. And this year we are going to do the same. There are a number of things that some of our young people and adults as well engage in some aspects of violence, some of criminal activity, antisocial behavior. We are going to be quite strong and forceful on those things. And one of the reasons for doing that is this. We live in a society today where things are happening in the view of persons, and they are not reporting these things to the police. They're not coming forward to give us that information to deal with those situations.
Why do you think that happens though? Why is the code of silence?
I can't speak exactly to why is the code of silence. I would want to hope that we could get rid of that code of silence because we cannot do the job by ourselves. Human intelligence is important to policing today. Even though you have advances in technology and you use forensics. A person who feels something, experiences something, sees something is very important to any investigations going forward.
Right.
Over the years, there has been a perception levied against the police force that we were not confidential enough. People could not come to the police station and report fear of information getting back out. We have dealt with that a long time ago. We've said to our community, if you have identified any police officers in the force who engage in that sort of activity, then report them. There's a process to do that. We've also put in place a number of mechanisms for people to call. We've created a confidential reporting website. We've put in place.
Have you been getting a response to that?
Well, it has been working. We have been receiving reports on that. But I think our community, should endeavor to use it some more.
What's the initiative here? What do you hope to gain from having such meetings?
Well, some years ago we have started the community policing consultative groups in various areas of the island with the aim of connecting with our communities. Some of it has fallen through. Persons were not coming forward and participating in these groups, to keep them alive. But it's about creating a group in a community that would be linked to the police force. We will work along with them to ensure that there are activities within that community to deal with community issues. It's not that we were creating informants or creating another police reporting group, but it's about helping that community to address the things that were happening in that community that is affecting that community and the country as a whole. Now, the meetings with the young people in South Valley the other night came about as a result of some of the young people in that area following the incident at the launching of Carnival, and wanted to discuss and share some views about Carnival 2011 and how the police force could work with the community in addressing some of these issues. And I think a lot of positive points come out of those meetings. And I personally, and the Royal Anguilla Police Force on the whole, we would welcome a meeting with any community in the country that wants to accept us and meet with us.
Mr. Commish, there's something that's been on my mind and for quite some time. I just want some clarity really here on this. Last lap. I have noticed now for the past Carnival seasons, it has been omitted from the lineup. Now, is that a result of the police? Why it's not a part of the calendar of events or program of events for Carnival?
Well, let me clear the air on this. I think Wednesday I spoke to the press in relation to this because these rumors are spreading all over the country that the police force is behind the reason why there is not last lap. The Carnival Committee, as it stands today, there is no police officer that sits on that committee. We have nothing to do with the planning of Carnival events. When the Carnival Committee prepares its calendar and its events for Carnival, they come to the police to talk in an initial meeting about security. They present us with their program. For the last 2 years now, the Carnival Committee came to the police with a program minus last lap. We asked about last lap, and we were given reasons as to why.
What were some of the reasons that you were given?
Well, one of the main reasons that were presented to us at the time had to do with funding, money, whether or not the committee can produce it. It had nothing to do with security and whether or not we were prepared to police last lap. Last lap didn't appear on the program last year, and it's not on the program this year. Well, we discussed with the Carnival Committee for every function that they have about the security that they have. This year again, the Carnival Committee and the security company that they have contracted, we've met. We've had some meetings. We've raised concerns that we would have from a police end.
What were some of the concerns from a police end?
Well, in terms of making sure that there's adequate lighting, there's adequate personnel from the security company to complement the police department, those things that we raised. The whole concept of having surveillance cameras at certain points. All of these things, the police force, we will regularly check for Carnival. As far as 2008, these were facilities that were in place at our National Carnival and Summer Festival activities. So we will regularly ask those questions of the Carnival Committee and the contracted security company.
Okay.
But
what if those things are not available? Then what would be your position? Would you say that the function can go forward until those things are in place?
Well, we wouldn't say that the function can go forward, but we would try to impress on the Carnival Committee, the persons responsible for it, that this sort of facility or equipment will complement the security setup to police Carnival, to ensure that Carnival, the events are in a safe and secure environment, and it would be in the best interest of the Carnival Committee to ensure that these things are there. Or if we can't have cameras there, then can we boost it up with the human resource aspect of it?
Okay. What powers would the security personnel have during that event, during the Carnival event, that we have a contracted security firm? What powers do they have?
You would find that...
Do they have power of arrest?
No, they wouldn't have a power of arrest. But you would realize that the security company and the police force, they work very close together. And you would always see where the security detail is set up, the private security detail. There's always a police officer in close proximity, or police officers. So if there's an issue that warrants arrest, and it needs to be brought to the police attention, we would be just a step away to get involved in that.
But there's been much talk, though, that you cannot allow a minority to disrupt the whole happenings for a majority, meaning then that you can't give in to these people who are indulged in such activity.
Well, I would not be supporting that we would allow a minority to disturb the enjoyment of a majority. We have heard rumors circulating, which I have dealt with, that the police were not going to allow Tuesday morning to go to Sandy Ground.
What's the position on that?
Well, Tuesday morning will be going to Sandy Ground as usual, and the police will be there in numbers.
So you've already made your plans as to how you will police that?
That's in place.
Okay.
All plans are in place for that. But what I would like to say in relation to that is that we have seen that the minority can be very reckless and dangerous at times, and that some of the majority who see the minority engaging in these activities are very silent and coming forward to assist law enforcement in addressing these issues as it relates to these minority people who want to be reckless. So that is when we have to be strong and tough in our decision making as it relates to security and some functions going ahead.
Well, what are your greatest challenges, Mr. Proctor? I know Anguilla is a small society and presents its own unique challenges. But what are your greatest challenges from a police standpoint do you encounter in Anguilla as it relates to policing?
Well, I think Anguilla up to now is still a good place to be a police officer. I have had 28 years of policing in this jurisdiction, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Right.
There were times when...
You're still enjoying it?
Yeah, of course I'm enjoying it. There are times when you feel a little let down that a situation would have occurred and there is hundreds of your citizens that have witnessed it, and then you are like a dentist trying to extract information from people, and it's very difficult, and somebody would have died or somebody would have been seriously injured.
Right.
And to some people, they are comfortable with going away not saying anything to ensure that justice is done. It's heartbreaking, and it's a challenge that we have been faced with for quite a long time.
Even listening to you speak about it, I see it's a touchy area really, because you're almost in emotions there just to talk about it. Some people are of the opinion we should build a bigger prison. Do you think that will solve the problem? Don't you think that we need to know how to get to the core of the problem? Do you think by building a bigger prison solves that?
Well, Cello, I think some of the questions that you just asked, they will be better answered by the prison authorities. But I'm going to give you my perspective from a law enforcement standpoint, because in many ways, the police and law enforcement is responsible for a lot of persons that go through the judicial system and then ends up in prison.
Right.
And that is going to continue.
Right, true.
In our society, we need to address a number of things to deal with these problems, especially as it relates to our young people. We need to have more places that are ready to rehabilitate some of our young offenders. We need to have some programs that will address some of the issues with them. Prison is not the only answer. It's one of the facilities, though, in place in our society to deal with some of the criminal activity and the level of crime that we have in our country today. We might not have the same level of criminality that exists in some of the jurisdictions close to us, but we do have some of them.
How would you classify our level of criminality?
We have a very low crime rate as we sit in this region. I know people will work it out to our population is just about 14,000, the rest of it. But however you turn it, crime is crime, and criminals do cross jurisdictions and commit crime. But we will be considered to be a very low crime and have a very low rate. But we do have some of those serious crimes that are affecting other jurisdictions as well. And we have to deal with that as it relates to our youth. We have to create more social programs for our youth. We have to try to get more youth involved in sport, more community programs. We just can't sit there and talk when these youths are going. Now, I've said recently, after the reckless shooting incident at the launch of Carnival, that I'm still waiting to hear some people come on these platforms, programs like this and others, and speak strongly about that incident. And I'm still waiting. So the youth out there is somewhat feeling empowered that nobody seems to be dealing with it.
So then, Commish, we were talking about the code of silence. We are still having that.
Unfortunately, yes, the people are still. What I can say over the last couple of years, as far as law enforcement are concerned, we are seeing more and more people that are coming out and speaking